Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope everybody managed to find the delicious chocolate cake there and feels refreshed and ready to go. We're moving now on to policy, what we can learn from the Danish action plan, and also how can we interact in this febrile policy environment. I'm going to set the stage with just two slides here. I want us to sort of be really aware of the information space that we are living in. And there's a really important report that came out about this called The New Merchants of Doubt by the Changing Markets Foundation. And what they do is through investigative journalism, through academic articles, they look at the information space that we're currently in. And what they find is it's the same old story. Discredit the science, disseminate false information, spread confusion, and promote doubt. And it's not all businesses, it's not all companies, but there are some particular ones which are very good at, well, you know, their industry relies on it, and advertising is what they do. Some of the examples, and there's plenty of examples in there, and I really recommend you read the executive summary. It's a very long report, exhaustive. Some of the examples is Mr. Beast, the biggest YouTuber in the world. He works with animal agriculture industries in promoting products. And the PR company Edelman, which is the same PR company that was involved in big tobacco, big oil, all the bigs, is now also representing some of the big meat and dairy industries, the intensive farming. And all the while, the smaller struggling farmers and lower income public are getting caught in this crossfire. And, you know, as scientists, as researchers, we can do our bit in trying to, these are some examples, trying to push back on some of the misinformation out there. This is now spilling over into policy and into politics, and we see a rollback in different countries of their initial aims to reduce methane, for example. And so this is something that we all have to be aware of as practitioners, as this is the environment that we're in. One of the things I think is quite cynical and very intelligent of the vested interests that are sort of defending the current situation is that they're targeting the youth. And so you see this over and over again in social media. And what this does is it targets the very people whose dietary patterns are being embedded for life, and so forming those habits. And it's incredibly effective. And finally, I just wanted to highlight to ourselves as a community, there's this sort of large-scale pluralistic ignorance of how much each of us think that other people care about change. And we all typically underestimate that by about half. So if you look at all the studies across the world from lots of different interest groups, even Republicans in the US, usually the support for environmental action is about double what people think it is. A colleague of mine did a really interesting study for scientists. And it turns out that I think we're probably underestimating our own interests and desire to get involved in advocacy. And what they found was that asking about 9,000 people across Europe, that about 35, asking those scientists, would engaging in advocacy diminish scientists' credibility? Most people either strongly disagreed, or neither agreed or disagreed. There's only a small percentage of people that think that any sort of advocacy is going to affect the credibility of the scientists. And I think this one's really interesting. This one would be, are you willing to engage in climate change advocacy? 29% say they already do. 58% say they would be willing to. That's an astonishing amount. That's an astonishing group of people who are able to be mobilized to communicate more. And there's all sorts of institutional incentive barriers to making that happen, of course, but I think we should keep that in mind whenever we're talking to one another and whenever we're talking in rooms about what we think is acceptable to say in terms of, you know, our own research and the implications of our own research. So I just wanted to sort of frame the discussion about policy in that context. So we've got some really excellent speakers this afternoon, from policy right through to the interests of industries and how we could work or not work with them. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Rune Christopher Dragsdahl from the Vegetarian Society of Denmark, who's going to tell us a little bit about the Danish action plan.